Welcome everyone to today's webinar. I'm so thrilled you're here with me. We're going to answer any questions that you have on the courses that you're enrolled in. We're going to post a survey for you folks because I want you to be aware we are about to do our Black Friday sales, and we're wanting to know your interest in specific courses and programs that we have available that could further your career at the most significant discounts of the year. So if you could, there's a survey there, and if you can take that survey, I'm also going to give the first 5 people that complete the survey. If you do, there's no obligation, but if you do decide to go on and take advantage of any of our sales in Black Friday or enroll in a class, you'll get an additional $100 off. Yeah, so there's 10 questions. It can only take probably 2 minutes to complete, and then you'll be able to have awareness of what would best further serve you to get incredible results with your clients if you're doing this professionally, or with your friends, family, and self if you're doing it for yourself. There was one question that came through where a person wanted to know, I had an accident and I have some mid-low to low back pain, right back in here, and it's really extreme, and I've had pain like that. One time I'd had an accident and it was the most excruciating pain of my life. I was literally screaming my head off as loud as I could scream, and I could understand anyone that kind of pain would want to die. And I did some procedures, and within a few minutes, I was totally gone. Pain was totally gone. So one thing you can do is wherever the pain is in your body, know your meridians and know, well, what's around that area? And then you can tap the point. So let's say it's right like around the bladder meridian, which is where his pain probably was. You can tap on bladder 1. Just like that. Breathe slow, deep abdominal breaths, because that puts you more in a parasympathetic state. So wherever the pain is, and I'll demonstrate with Skylar in a little bit, because we found she has a pain right around on her, I think it's on your wrist, right? And that will be something then we'll show you how you find the point, because you can also find the right point on people too. They're beginning and end points on the face. See, originally these were discovered by George Goodheart, that these had an effect on people. Then there was a man named Bob Blake, who we're going to see if we can get him on for a webinar at some point. He's done phenomenal results with athletes. In fact, he had this one cyclist who was one of the top cyclists in the world, and it was due to Bob's work with him. Bob's, I think he's got a practice in Denver, if anyone you want to look. His last name is B-L-A-I-C-K. So he learned this from Goodheart, and then he taught it to a guy named Roger Callahan. If you remember, Roger Callahan was the first one that brought this tapping technique, particularly on the face and fingers and that. He brought it to psychologists. He's a psychologist, and he called it thought field therapy, which you understand that everything is a field of energy, and thoughts have an energy field. That's why one of the most important things you can do for your health is to focus on positive, feel-good thoughts. There was a book written about this by Candace Pert called Molecules of Emotion. You probably are familiar with another book called The Biology of Belief, where Bruce Lipton talks about how your beliefs affect your molecular and your biochemical nature, and so in your expression of your genes. In fact, there's another man you're probably familiar with, Dr. Dean Ornish, and what he found was that meditation, which I do every day, it's like one of my most important disciplines, turns on about 500 genes that affect your health. It switches them on. So you have your thoughts. So in the case of pain, as much as you can, even when that intense pain was happening, I was focusing on gratitude, feeling states of gratitude. What am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? And then in addition, I would hold the place here. And you can also, while you're doing that, hold the frontal eminences, which is your emotional stress release. And then if you had the pain, you could touch on the pain area too. Breathe slow, deep abdominal breaths. And that along with tapping on whatever the beginning end point is that's closest to the meridian. Now remember, these are yang meridians. They also pair up with yin meridians. For you that have done our energy kinesiology class, we get into much more follow-up of how to figure out where the exact acupuncture points are for clearing pain. And there's another one called pain tapping. If you've done that course, it's where you're using the pulse points. We don't have time to get into it now, but we are, by the way, launching our energy kinesiology certification program is starting in January. So if you're interested in that, be on the lookout for that, because in fact, you can just send me an email, reply to the email you got for this, and say, I'm interested in the energy kinesiology certification program. Because when we go in there, you really learn your Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine and how to apply it to your practice. So the yin yang, go back to that. So if pain is, say, like along the circulation sex meridian, what pairs up with that is triple warmer. So that would be triple warmer 23. If pain, say, is on the inside of the leg and you say, oh, that's around the liver meridian, then you'd be gallbladder 1. Or if it's on, say, the kidney meridian, then it's bladder. So you look at the pain, and if it's a yin meridian, what's the pair in the yang meridian? So that's where you have, let's see if I have a folio here maybe. So just know, you look at the 5-element chart and you go yin and yang, and you could tap that point. Let's bring Skylar up now, and I'll demonstrate that. So Skylar, you have, you said something on your wrist was?
My cat scratched my wrist.
Oh, your cat scratched your wrist. Okay. I've had cat scratches before. Those hurt. Okay, so let's have you, lying on your back is easiest. So you can, let's just check a leg here. I'll just have you bend your knee and bring it up. And we're checking the quadriceps here. Hold as I push. That's good. Nice and strong. So touch where the scratch is. And is there some pain in there?
A little bit if I like brush against.
Okay, yeah, so just hold that as we test. And as I push, okay, that goes strong, weak. So now let's bring it back, and you hold it up there. Hold the knee while you're touching the point. Okay, so here's what we're doing. Okay, now that's right around the circulation sex. So I'm going to touch here and bring the foot up higher and see if that clears it. And it does. See, what I'm doing is I'm touching triple warmer. Now let me just, for instance, touch stomach. That didn't help. Let's touch bladder. Okay, and hold this up. That doesn't help. See, other points don't help. Let's try small intestine. Doesn't help. But when I touch the right point, it helps. Okay, so now we can drop that down, and we'll just tap here. In fact, you can tap. Just take 2 fingers, and you can do this at home just to practice. She's tapping triple warmer 23. Now, by the way, triple warmer 23 is related to, of course, the triple warmer meridian, which is thyroid and adrenal. So sometimes if you have an adrenal insufficiency or low thyroid, breathing slowly and deeply, you can do that as well, and tapping here can help boost that energy. Okay, let's see what happens now. Let's have you touch that point again and bring the knee up and see it's now strong. Does it feel any different when you touch it?
Yeah, it actually does.
Actually does, okay? All right, good. We're going to go to the head points. Now, these are the priority under energy, where you need to boost energy. And I'm touching right between the eyebrows. That is wood element, okay? So we got wood, then we go over to fire and see what happens here. That's fine. Let's go back to earth, and I'm touching earth. Now that's where the occiput joins, it conjuncts with the temporal bone and the parietal bone. Hold as I push here, it goes weak. Now to determine what I need to do, I say spleen, it does not change, it's still weak. I say stomach, it's strong. So stomach meridian is also related to stomach organ. So let me just check the stomach organ here. So I can point in at the stomach and see if it's weak or strong, and it's also weak. Now what I can do is I can check my finger modes here to see is it structural, nutritional, emotional, or electrical. So I could continue with the stomach and pointing here, I'm gonna, to make it easier, I'm going to, so I have a hand free, I'm going to have her bring her feet together, and then as the arm goes down, separate your feet 18 inches apart. Okay, now that puts it in circuit retaining mode, so her biocomputer says, we're checking the stomach and we've got energy blockage. That's what the weak muscle is. Now I'm going to touch the thumb to the index finger and see what happens. It's still weak. I go here. This is nutritional. That was structural. Nutritional, still weak. Looking for change. Emotional, it goes strong. Electrical, still weak. So anything happening in the way of emotional stress that could be zapping that meridian.
Oh, there's a lot of family drama this past week.
Okay, a lot of family drama, and you don't need to get into the details.
Yeah.
So let's bring the feet back together and we'll do another thing. So here's what you do. If it's coming up emotional stress, you have a strong indicator, hold, and now think about that situation. Got it? Okay, and if they don't, well, let's see what happens. As you think about it, what happens is, yep, you're switched off. Now, if they don't go weak, they're thinking about it up here, but they're not feeling it, say, feel it in your gut, which she already is connecting to it. But sometimes people say, no, it's strong. And it's, well, how do you feel about that in your gut? Because really, that's where your stomach is what's getting zapped with that stress, okay? And do you feel any stress in the stomach?
Yeah, kind of hurts.
It kind of hurts, okay? So now we're going to check again. Touch your frontal eminences like that. I could touch them or she can, and think about that stressor again. And look, it goes strong. That's meaning, oh, that's what we need to do is clear the emotional stress. Now, either she can touch the points or I can. For simplicity, I'll go up and touch them. And then what you're going to do is we'll just do a simple emotional stress release technique. So breathing slowly and deeply. What I'd like you to do, and here I'm just touching right on the frontal eminences with a slight tug up, very light touching. You can have your eyes closed for this or open. It's either way it works. So as you're breathing slowly and deeply, I want you just to notice the situation, what happened. And you can even listen to what was said just by noticing it. As you relax, just kind of if you're thinking it's up on a screen and you're just breathing slowly and deeply, noticing the situation, what was said, what you saw happening. And as you continue to relax, notice what emotions came up in you. And if you want, you can mention those, but you don't have to. So when you're doing this with a person, sometimes they prefer to talk about it and say, well, this happened and that happened, and it, actually helps to get it off their chest, but they don't have to talk about it. Sometimes it's very personal, and it says that's just as well they can keep it to themselves. So notice what body sensations you have when you think about this. Any that you'd like to comment on? Like, do you have tightness anywhere that you're aware of? Or
Maybe about my ankle.
oh, it's actually in your ankle. Interesting. I'll talk about that more later. Okay, so notice any other body sensations or emotions that come up, and just keep breathing slowly and deeply through your abdomen like you're doing. Any other aspects that you're aware of?
Maybe my eyes feel kind of dry.
Your eyes feel dry. Okay, good. Just notice. The key is just observe and allow it to be there. Any other emotions come up?
I think it's like anxiety.
Anxiety. Okay, well, just observe the anxiety, breathe into it, and just let it flow. Now, how would you like to feel about this?
Maybe relaxed.
Okay, that's fine. So breathe in a feeling of relaxation. Deep breath in of relaxation. Flowing through your entire body, and just relax into that. Let it fill you up, your whole being, with relaxation. And now look at the situation again, surrounding it with relaxation. Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah.
Okay. breathing in, deep relaxation, seeing the situation going into the future. How would you like it to proceed going into the future? Like qualities of acceptance.
Yeah, maybe like it's time to move on.
Yeah, time to move on. Okay, just say, oh, it's time to move on.
Oh, it's time to move on.
Yeah, got it. Okay. And when you feel like you're complete with this and at peace with this, then let me know and then we'll retest.
Okay.
All right? Okay. So what we're going to do is have you think about that situation again. You got an image of it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as you do, it's strong. Good. So let's see what happens when we test the stomach. And hold. Pointing in there, that's strong. Is the head point improved? It is. Okay. So let's see, does your stomach feel any different now?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like when you're touching it, it's not really hurting. Like
it was
I felt
before.
Kind of like I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. How about that? Okay. So that's the beauty of kinesiology. Basically, Goodhart said it this way. He said, diagnose the need or assess the need, if you prefer to use that word, which we found the need was stomach and the need was emotional clearing and the need was stress release. Then supply the need, do the technique, and observe the result. The result was all muscles were strong, all points were strong that we tested, and her stomach felt better. Same thing with the wrist. We found the wrist had energy blockage. She touches it, a strong muscle goes weak. We found an acupressure point that strengthened it, triple warmer 23. Then we supplied the need, tapping the point. Then touching it again, it's strong, and the proof in the pudding is, and it doesn't hurt as much. It feels fine now, right? See, it's so brilliant. You can do simple procedures like that, and that's what we teach you in their courses. As you go more advanced, there's times, well, we need to do an ileocecal valve correction, or we need to correct pelvic categories, or we might need to do the now and then technique from our energy kinesiology, or maybe more an advanced technique from psychology where we go into clear things from early in a person's life. You know, there's all these energy blocks that we're just looking for, finding, and clearing that brings the person back into full health and full longevity too. You know, where I had someone I worked on, gosh, it was about 5 or 6 years ago. And the man was told, you're dying, your liver's failing, your kidneys are failing, we need to send you to hospice. And fortunately, I got my hands on him, and we did several balances over 3 or 4 days, and he totally turned around. And I talked to him this last week. 6 years later, he's fully alive and healthy. And what I did was a technique from our energy kinesiology was one of the main things I did, and I cleared every acupressure point on his body. And total turned around because we switched the body on. Okay, let's check a few more things. You said you were having some challenges in your ankle?
Yeah.
Because originally you had that injury, but we cleared that, right? Using some of the sports kinesiology techniques.
Yeah, but I think it was like the side, but like the back of it.
Okay, so
like the back of it.
So the side out here where you were strained is fine now.
Yeah, but then the back.
Okay, so it's the back. Okay, so what you do is you get a strong indicator muscle. Usually it's an arm like that. And lower is often better. Like high up here, she's recruiting more muscles. So generally a lower level, especially if I'm down here. Now I'm going to touch back here, right around the Achilles tendon, and see what happens. And she goes weak. Now what muscle is, you guys can tell me, what muscle or two muscles go into the Achilles tendon here? It's the gastrocnemius and the soleus. So I'm going to test those muscles. The way you can do it in a supine position is she slightly bends the knee, and we cover this in Sports Kinesiology 1. And I can take the foot here, and I'm basically going to be pulling like this. She stays in plantar flexion. That is where the origin insertion of the gastrocs is in a shortened position, which is why they have women wear high heel shoes, so it shows definition in the gastrocs. Not that that's a healthy thing, but I'm going to push on the knee to straighten the leg and pull the foot back, okay? So ready and hold, and bingo, there it goes. Okay, so we know that one's out. Now while we're at it, let's check some other muscles that might be involved. Bend the knee even more at about halfway in plantar flexion. if I do it from here, usually I do this prone, but we can do it. So you keep the foot pointed and don't let me straighten it. And now the soleus is fine. So it's more the gastrocs. And that's a key muscle in sports. It's the muscle you jump with. Dancers as well. There was a case where Nureyev was dancing in New York City, and he went to an AK chiropractor because he wasn't able to do his normal leaps. So he balanced this muscle. I'm going to balance on Skylar. And then he was able to get back up airborne again. So it's a key muscle for jumps, which is so much in sports, right? So let's see what we have. Again, I can also touch the muscle itself and see what happens. Okay, I'm touching the lateral head. Let's touch the medial head, both of them. Okay, so now what I can do, while I'm touching here too, I can go through the modes. Now I can even do that while I'm touching with my fingers like this. So hold, weak, structural, yes. Nutritional, no. Emotional, no. Electrical, no. So it's structural, okay? So what I'll do is I'll do structural techniques. Let's have you touch right here, your hands both sides, like that. Now what I can do then is, let's do a leg. I'll use the leg as an indicator. In fact, why don't we do this? Just touch the side of the muscles on it. You keep touching with this hand here and let this one be our test muscle. But you're touching on the side of the muscle right there. So she's touching the neurolymphatic points for the gastrocs, and see, that goes strong, right? Good. Now, we'll also, I could have just rubbed them, by the way, but I'm just showing for demonstration purposes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch here right up, you can drop this off now. I'm going to touch the attachments and see if they go weak. And it does here, and it does here. So that's the origin. I'm going to work on those. I'm also going to touch down right on the insertion at the calcaneus, and so I'm going to do origin insertion technique. Now I can also do this. I can pull apart in the muscle, that spindle cell, and see if that strengthens it, and it does. So I'm going to use all my tools in my structural toolbox. Now again, that was demonstrating they will help, but maybe one or two of them say, oh, we don't need that. It would have been, say, still weak. However, it doesn't hurt to just do them all. So you're going to rub right here like that. Okay, you rub with both hands, one on each side. And is that tender at all in there?
Yeah.
Okay, you rub that. That tenderness is, it's also related to adrenals. Have you had any symptoms of adrenal fatigue? Like, do you wake up tired at all?
Sometimes, oh yeah, the past couple of days I've been going to bed a little bit later.
Okay, well, sleep's going to help too. Okay, so I'm going to do the neurolymphatics back here. Then what we can also do is we're going to do the origin insertion. So I'm going to get down here where the muscle is back on the...
Oh yeah, that hurts quite a bit.
Yeah, it hurts quite a bit. And often this is origin. I'm working on the origin to pin it back to the muscle. This is great for sports and dance. Often is the clincher. I had a woman that was going to be the prima ballerina in an opening choreography in Ohio, the Ohio Ballet, and she had injured herself right before the dance. Unfortunately, I was backstage at the time, and it was her hamstring, so I basically did the origin work at the ischium for the hamstrings and totally got better, and she did a great performance in the dance. Okay, so now I'll get in here. Now there's also a technique called Golgi tendon, and in that you're rubbing on the tendon, but you're pushing it back towards the belly, and that strengthens a muscle, weak muscle. In fact, I can do it here too. You're pushing in towards the belly to strengthen a muscle, and then you, in the belly of the muscle, you pull apart. You pull apart, that's the spindle cell. Lengthen to strengthen is the way to remember that, and it's telling muscle to strengthen. Now sometimes, let's see, this one feels pretty tight in here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty...
Yeah. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to work this more in the sports kinesiology too. We're just going to do some little pin and stretch. So I'm just going to have you straighten the leg here. Okay, and go back like this. And stretching that out. let's see how that works. You can stop the belly neurolymphatic work, and let's see how we're doing. Okay, so let's go to the gastroc muscle test. Bend the knee slightly, pointing the foot down. Don't let me straighten it. Hold. Everything I've got. Can't budge that. It's one thing Goodhart did when he demonstrated things. He would like push, and he really was pushing hard, as I was, pushing all my might and really, you know, being a little more dramatic. And it's like, wow, the person really sees that you are giving it all you got. Could you feel that? I couldn't budge you. Where the first time it was like nothing to it.
Yeah, my leg like felt stronger. I was like,
yeah. And then, and another thing it does is it creates the information sandwich. See, when you test a muscle, like I tested her gastroc, and it was weak, it's signaling the brain and the rest of the body, we have inhibition in this muscle. So then when I do the points, it knows, rather than just rubbing points without testing muscles first, when you test the muscle, it says, oh, now we've got a problem here. Let's do this, 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 and this. And it says, let's go to feed that hungry muscle that's inhibited. It knows where to go. And then when you fire it again, that's the top of the sandwich. In other words, basically assess the need, supply the need, observe the result. So in this case, when we observe the result, her body is like, everyone's saying, hey, yay, we got the gastrocnemius switched on, because the whole body's connected. So, you know, muscles in your legs, because of the gait situation, will be connecting to muscles in the arm. So that's where you have that whole integration that's now being woken up. So let's check one other muscle. Let's check your posterior tibials. Another really key muscle. We should cover that in sports kinesiology 1. I'm going to push out like this and you hold it in and see if that's strong. And it is. Okay. So I think we're good here on the ankle. Let's see what happens when I touch back here. It's strong. Everything that was weak before is now strong. See if your ankle feels any different after that.
Yeah, it does. I don't like feel like this, like there's like kind of like some kind of pulling thing. I don't know, there's like something I felt there.
There was a pulling thing before.
Yeah, no,
and
it's like another ankle.
And now it feels like your other ankle. It's gone, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So the question is, if someone has pain in both knees and walking up the stairs particularly makes it worse, what do you do for it? Well, answer to that is almost, well, first of all, what's the muscle involved? Going up the stairs is the quadricep. So I would test both quadriceps, and we'll just test hers again, and she was strong, but if, let's say, and I'm going to do another emphasis here. There's a thing that Sheldon Deal, and his shortcuts techniques are great. By the way, we're going to give you a survey, and one of the things we're going to be offering in the Black Friday is, for you that haven't gotten it yet, a super discount for Black Friday only on Sheldon Deal's shortcuts. And one of the shortcuts he taught me is if you put your sternum, he calls it the necktie, right over the muscle, it shows more clearly if it's weak. Let's see what I do here. Hold as I push. As I push. Oh, look at that. Yeah, see, when I was back here, hold as I push. And if I go right, my necktie, like if I were wearing a necktie, you don't wear that on a Tommy Bahama shirt, but hold again, see how it goes weak. Now, if another muscle, let's just check, say, your anterior deltoid. I'll do the necktie. See, your anterior deltoid's fine. Okay, so you find is the gastrocnemius, excuse me, quadriceps, got gastroc on the brain, quadriceps muscle, hold. Oh, she's showing on that one too. But again,
I wonder if it's because I run and stuff.
Yeah, so run and you haven't been stretching. Well, that's the thing. When I worked with triathletes, they would sometimes run several hours a day as a regular training. In fact, I worked out with this one guy, and he would be on his treadmill several hours every day. He then, for his 50th birthday, I've talked about him in other classes, his name's Stu Middleman. He went for his 50th birthday, he ran from San Diego to New York City. It took him like several days. He ran 2 marathons every day for like 50 some days. And a lot of these athletes, from running and working out so much, would be weak, particularly the aerobic factor. So if that's a weakness, that would be the muscle particularly that you'd want to address. So again, you use your finger modes. So let's see what we find. So again, I got a weak muscle. Structural doesn't help. Nutrition doesn't. Emotion doesn't. Electrical. Oh, electrical does. So electrical, again, that's more of, well, you got two things. Actually more than that, but this for the basics, for you that are doing the basics, one would be the meridian trace technique. So what you can do is put your thumb on the outside of your little fingernail like that. So what I'm doing is the stomach, small intestine 1 is that point, and let's see if that strengthens it. Hold as I push. It does. So that says meridian trace. Now, for the person with the knee problem, again, it might show up nutrition. Nutrition for this is vitamin D and vitamin B. Just to show you here, I'll grab some vitamin B and see if it would help, even though it didn't show up in the modes. Okay, hold that right there. Don't let me push. And look, it strengthens actually. So that's the B vitamins. Even though it wasn't showing a priority, that could help, say for the person that has the challenges climbing stairs. Now, there's also a thing in our, several of our courses, we do diet deletion, diet addition. Now, I once had a severe knee pain where I could not go upstairs with extreme pain. And when I tested, it came up nutrition. And I was over-acidic in my diet, and probably my emotions were stressed at the time. So I did a whole alkalized cleanse where all I ate was alkalizing soups. For 3 days, my knee pain totally went away by the 3rd day. And I was detoxing, getting rid of the acids, the over-acidity in my body, clearing out the liver. And again, you also think the organs, small intestine. If you have dysbiosis, leaky gut, parasites, candida, all of those we cover in our biochemical course. For you that are doing that, you remember that those can cause problems in the quadriceps and the joints. You know, if the joint inflammation is systemic, where there's a lot of aches and pains in joints, you know, you often think of those things. There's some toxicity that's creating that. Now, back to she needs energy. Now, there's another point that's the tonification point that for you that know emotional freedom technique, where you tap on what's called the karate chop point, that's small intestine 3 that tonifies, that brings energy into this. So you touch here and see what happens there. Okay, so let's see if fingers on that. So she's got a neutral polarity, and look, that's strong. So I'm going to do those 2 points. Now, she didn't need the structure. However, whenever you have a bilateral weakness, you want to think of the spinal reflex. So let me just touch the spinal reflex back here and see if it goes weak. And in her case, it's not, so she doesn't need it. But commonly, when you have a bilateral weakness, you go to the chart, the Touch for Health chart, and then you will rub like up and down, like if this was the spinous process, you'd be rubbing, grab the tissue and just rubbing back and forth without sliding on the skin. You're rubbing over the spinous processes at that level. But when I circuit located, it didn't show up, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so let's just do this now. So we're going to go from small intestine 1 to small intestine 19. I'll rub that 3 times and just tracing it with my fingers like so. Can you feel that? Do you notice anything when I do that?
I feel
like
some kind of air.
Feel some kind of air, okay? All right. But can you feel any vibration?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and now when I'm doing this, I'm feeling energy in my fingers. Like you can even rub your hands together. Do that right now, everyone. And then, yeah, you do it too, okay? And then put your hands like this and feel, can you feel energy like?
Oh, is it like one of the energy healers?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you're,
very much.
yeah, you can feel your energy. It's like you can, wow, there's like
Yeah,
there's
over
a
my
magnetic
ears.
field there.
I do feel like a ball.
Yeah, it's a ball, yeah.
It's kinda weird.
So that's what you're doing. When you're running here, you're running energy to move it along that pathway. Then that small intestine meridian affects the quadriceps, okay? Now let's do our tapping here. So this is small intestine 3. You can do this at home. Tap, 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 tap. How's that feel? Notice anything? Okay, so back to the knee. If electrical came up, those are some things you could do. I talked about nutrition. Of course, emotional stress release. If nothing else, ask the person, is there anything going on? And I know you had mentioned this about your situation, that you know, that was affecting your body. See, our thoughts and emotional stress, and Dr. Bradley Nelson, we teach some of his techniques in our the emotion code, it's called. There's similar techniques we do in our psychological kinesiology course. And he says 90% of physical problems have an emotional component. It's so common. And I see that particularly for people with cancer. There's a lot of programs. In fact, one of my clients was the original oncologist that brought the mind and emotional aspect into cancer. His name was Carl Simonton. You can look him up, Simonton. And he was aware that his cancer patients, in most cases, had a severe loss about, on average, 18 months before their cancer was diagnosed. And he said, you need to clear those emotional elements, and most oncologists are not even looking there. But when you clear those, sometimes a person makes a miraculous recovery. So be aware that, you know, emotions are a very primary area you just don't want to forget about. Even in sports, you know, in our sports kinesiology too, we're going to go deeper into the emotional component in sports performance. Okay, so we've done the electrical. Nutritional, I mentioned you can look on the charts. For you that know biochemical, you might need diet addition, diet deletion, and then going into the other factors like heavy metals, parasites, candida, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, and also leaky gut. Those are so common, and that is often affecting the quadriceps because that's the small intestine. And I think we've cleared you before. We found some of those issues on you, and
Yeah,
I think
like
that,
a long time ago.
yeah, a long time ago.
Like over a year.
Yeah, yeah. Some of you might see some of Skylar in previous recordings, and we were finding those things. And because she's really cleaned up, I applaud you. You've done phenomenal well cleaning up her diet, and so those are factors almost everybody needs. The diet deletion, because there's so much bad food out there. Basically, eat organic, highly plant-based. Get your healthy essential fatty acids, your fibers, which are prebiotics, basically through plant-based, you know, your fibrous vegetables, and avoid, for the most part, refined carbohydrates and sugar. Remember an acronym, Sheldon Deal calls it CATS. Stay away from caffeine, at least in over amounts, alcohol, A, T for tobacco, and S for sugar. That's a general rule. Now, there's a little bit of caffeine I'll have, like in green tea, or I have an organic, it's called an antioxidant coffee that's organic, and it's got other factors in the coffee, and I muscle test maybe 3 times a week. I can have that, but it's people that are doing their ventis or 2 or 3 or 4 every day. It's wreaking havoc and it's aging their body faster. So it's all about feeling great for a long time to come. Okay, so let's see what we got now. We did those 2 techniques. Hold here, and that's good. And hold here. Very good. Now, just one thing to add on that. If they say, well, I'm good for a flight or 2, but then when I get to the 3rd or 4th flight of stairs, if they got to go up a long flight, then it's aerobic factor. We'll cover this in sports 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She's doing good. But if that's the case, and they go a week after, say, 4 or 5, you do prolonged neurolymphatic stimulation. In this case, that would be for the quadriceps. She was fine, so we don't need to do that, okay? All right, so someone wants to see sacral wobble. That's actually a stroking technique, and we do that in particularly our energy course. So you can roll over onto your belly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to check, this is for sacral wobble, which is I'm going to push I'll use the hamstrings here. I'm going to push down like this as an indicator muscle. And then I'm going to go right on the sacrum, and I'm going to push down on the right and up on the left and see what happens. Oh, she goes weak. Now I'm going to push up on the right and down on the left, and she's strong. So the correction is you find the weakening direction, which in her case was like this, and I'm going to have her breathe in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. You do that about 5 or 6 times. Okay, and now without breathing, let's see if that clears it. So I'm going down like this and see what happens, and she's now strong. So someone asks, how do you check for parasites? Well, there's modes for parasites, and I'll show you the mode. That is where you have the fingers with the index finger and middle and ring finger folded over the thumb, folding over those, and you're touching like this. So you have the thumb touching the little finger, and that's a mode that I believe Alan Beardall, who came up with finger modes originally, one of the original called the Dirty Dozen, the chiropractors that started International College of Applied Kinesiology. Sheldon Deal's the only one left of the whole group that started it back in the 1970s. Okay, so what I do is I test an indicator muscle, it's strong, then I apply the mode and see if it goes weak. Now, it's not showing in general, but I could also check specific areas. So let's have you touch, with this hand, touch your gut, okay? So she's strong. Is there, oh, look, there's something coming up there that might be a factor. Okay, so now there's also sometimes parasites in the brain. So touch your head up here, and that's strong. Not showing there. Let's do the other side. There's actually a book, I don't know the name of the book, but it's on psychiatric disorders that were created by parasites in the brain. I had one of my clients, and she was having seizures, and we found out she had parasites in the brain. So there's lots of different things. You don't have parasites in your brain. Okay. Now, we all have some parasites to some degree. And so it's not like necessarily a problem, but a place that parasites often affect is the ileocecal valve. So I'm going to touch right here and see if that's out on her. Oh, and it is. Look at that. Okay, so you touch here. Just point in here. Just one hand is fine. Let's see if that works, if I'm getting it. Good. Now, while she's doing that, I then do the parasite mode. And remember, if it changes, it's saying that's a factor. Oh, look at that. It is. Are you having any abdominal pain, flu-like symptoms, right shoulder pain, sudden low back pain, any insomnia?
I've been sneezing.
Sneezing, okay. Can be sinusitis. There's a whole slew of them. We get into that in the biochemical as well as the structural courses that affect that. But let's just check here to see. So she's touching here, right? We got a weak muscle. She goes strong with parasites. So now I'm going to go through the modes to see what will help clear that with the parasite. In fact, let's do this. No, let's just keep it simple. We're showing stuff that's more in our advanced courses, and there's more to it, but I'm just going to show to answer the question. So she's weak. I'm going to go structure, nope. Nutrition, yes. Emotion, no. Electrical. So now I say diet. The one that goes strong is nutrition. So I say diet addition, diet deletion, supplement addition. Okay, so then I'm thinking supplement addition. Let's see if I have Dyspioside. Dyspioside here is one of my favorite go-tos. It's got wormwood in it, which, by the way, a lot of you've heard of this drug called ivermectin. That's based, it's based out of wormwood, that it was created. So let's see, which is also ivermectin is originally for parasites, right? But there's something else I hear they're treating for. And look, that's clearing that. Now, remember, when you use a priority mode, if it changes, a change is going to do you good. So I'm combining things here. First, this made her weak, that made her strong, and now I go priority mode and see if it changes. And it does. So it's saying that is what you need. Now, let's see how much. So in this case, let's put this in circuit. I hope this is maybe going a little advanced for some of you, but it's what I do. So I'm showing you the way I do it. So we're going to have her separate her feet 18 inches apart when that goes weak. Okay, so now that's in circuit. Now I could have had her keep touching here, but I just want a free hand for her. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 on here. It goes strong. 2 goes strong. 3 goes strong. 4 goes strong. 5 goes strong. This is how many she would need a day. Yeah. And 6 is strong. Okay, so 7 goes weak. So it's saying 6 per day. So I'll ask 2, 3 times a day? Yes. Okay. So I think I got a fresh bottle of this still. I go through this a lot. It's one of the go-tos for parasites, as well as it helps gut issues like your leaky gut and parasites. Can also even be good for candida. Okay, now there's another thing common for parasites, and let's see if I've got it here. That is Betagest. So she's still, this is for the ileocecal valve, which is being affected by parasites, and that goes strong. Now bring your feet together. So now she's out of circuit, right? Okay, she's strong. See, wiped out the, we're no longer dealing with this. Now, let's go back to, we know she needs hydrochloric acid, which is a way to kill your parasites. If you got enough of this in the first place when you're eating your food, that helps. There's also, like, you know, wasabi and ginger, that, like you have it at sushi bars. Well, they say, ooh, sushi's got parasites. Well, that's why they put the wasabi and ginger there, because that can be helpful too. So let's have you hold your arms both like this, and I'm going to pull out. Ready? And hold. See how it goes weak? That's a sign of hydrochloric acid deficiency. Now we show here, see, she's strong there. She's strong here. And what happens when we do them both together? Then it goes weak. That's a sign of hydrochloric acid deficiency. I'm going to put that in her field, and it's the vibrational field, and I'm budging, I'm pulling as hard as I can, and you see how strong you are?
Oh,
I couldn't budge you. Now look at this, little fingers. Come on, hold. See my little finger, that just goes, and then as strong as I can. So that's the amazing thing. When the body has this in its field, that's showing that. So we can also do the check. Oh, this is a brand new one, so I don't have the things. Well, here's what you can do. You can say, I'll just put this in her field, more than 1 per meal, 1 per meal, okay? Now, if you're having a particularly big protein meal, this digests and breaks down your proteins, like if you're having, say, grass-fed steak or maybe some salmon, this will be maybe more like 2. But if it's just a regular meal, 1, but that'll also help the parasites. And let's show here, see, that also helps to clear that. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is, okay, that's weak. That makes it strong. So what I'm going to do is have you pull this up towards the left shoulder. Is that tender in there at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do, just so we get her an immediate treatment, though we need to clear those parasites. So glad that question came up. I'm doing the neurolymphatics for ileocecal valve here. And is that tender there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the transverse process of C1. She was also on the head of the shoulder and the front. She was tender there. So you can rub those as well at home. And especially if you're getting any of those, any discomfort after eating or any pain in that area. Okay, so now let's see if she's strong there. Okay, so there was a question about grinding your teeth. That commonly is a retrograde lymphatic. We cover that in structural. more advanced technique, take about 10, 12 minutes to just demonstrate it, but it is in our structural class. Again, if you do the survey and you mention you're interested in that, we have some significant discounts that are coming up in the next week that you can take advantage of. There's also TMJ. I'll show you a quick correction for TMJ. You get, and you can do this too, you're going to touch right back here at the top of the neck on the side. And while you do that, you're going to stick your thumbs right in the jaw and then move your jaw around. Is that tender at all?
Maybe a tiny bit at the top.
Yeah, you're not too bad on that. So here's what you do, folks. Put your fingers, I'll put 2 fingers right back here at the top of the neck, just under the skull. And then I get the thumbs in the socket of the jaw, and you move it around back and forth. Ha! B vitamins are also good for TMJ. And then I'll show you the neurolymphatics for that. Okay? So this is your top 3 spaces here. So right under the collarbone, just under that, and just under that. You're going to rub that firmly, and those are good neurolymphatics for TMJ. Now, often when you're having TMJ, there's also, in most cases, an emotional component. So whatever the person's stressed about, they can do the slow, deep breathing. And the ESR technique is basically this. You get yourself relaxed, and while touching here, you simply notice whatever you're stressed about without reacting to what you're stressed about. Just notice, oh yeah, there's those thoughts about this. And oh, I saw that, and I heard this. And the fact that you're witnessing it, it takes it out of the back of your brain, that reactive mind, brings it into the front of your brain, which is the new association area, also called the prefrontal cortex. All transformation happens there. So that's why we touch here instinctively when we're under stress, like, oh my God, what are we doing? We're taking and shifting it out of the back of the brain into the front, where we can process it and clear it so it's no longer living in our body as a stressor. So you've got some great techniques there. I want to remind you to fill out the survey, and we'll be looking forward to seeing your results. And then we're going to be emailing you some offers that we're going to be having available during this whole holiday season that will help you to really advance your skills. See, I started studying this work first, I think it was 1975 that I became aware of muscle testing. So, well, this is intriguing. But I didn't find an opportunity to study it until I bought the Touch for Health book, the original gold book, in 1978, I think it was. And then in 79, the green book came out, which is the updated version. And then I was looking for a course, and I got a flyer in the mail that a Touch for Health workshop was happening in my Northeastern Ohio, where I was practicing at the time. So I went to that course. I said, wow, this is great, but I want to learn the advanced stuff. Phenomenal opportunity drops in my lap when I'm working at a chiropractic office doing body work, and they say, Dr. Anderson is going up to study year-long certification program with Dr. George Goodhart, the founder of AK, and Dr. Wally Schmidt. So that was like getting into physics and saying in 2000 or 1905, hey, there's this course by Einstein and Tesla. Would you like to go attend? So I said, yes. So that totally changed my life, because I learned all these advanced skills that I could then put right into my practice. And so from, I think it was the end of 1982, I then became a Touch for Health instructor and started teaching all around Ohio, Florida, Michigan, and then ended up having the great opportunity to go out and train and study with Dr. John Thie, and became this program director of the Touch for Health Foundation, started spreading around the United States, Canada, and have now taught in 17 countries. So that was my, my beginning to launch this. Now, because I had so many great techniques from Goodhart and so many wonderful things from Touch for Health, I merged them together into my own certification program. So those are the programs that we have available, and I know some of you are already in those programs, but it's a great great honor and privilege to be able to share this with the world. And I love the results I've heard from so many of my students that are getting phenomenal results in their practice as well as for their health, their own health. Because I've seen many people that said, I had this debilitating condition. And when I came into the classes and started using this, both just online classes as well as, in the hands-on workshops, we have both available, they were finding their own health challenges cleared up. So that's a great thing too. You can expect to see, as I have for myself, your own challenges be able to be cleared by learning this work and applying it to yourself as well as your family, which is just phenomenal to see the results that your children or your grandchildren or mother, father, brother, sister are able to achieve with this work. So I'm glad you joined us today. I'm looking forward to seeing results from your surveys, and then we'll keep you posted on future programs. And thank you for making the Kinesiology Institute your best choice in health and wellness education. Be well and God bless.